All
Hi,
right,
everybody.
folks, welcome to our second go at this. We're going to go a little slow and let folks keep kind of trickling in the door here. We have quite a few folks registered and only about a dozen or so in the door, so we're going to go a little bit slow. First off, I want to publicly apologize to Ahava. So even though I've probably hosted more than, say, 75 of these, I think in December when we did our first go around, I somehow forgot to push the start broadcast button. So we went on for about 15 minutes between intros and presentation and wondered why people were dropping off. That is all my fault. So my sincere apologies to Ahava. In my defense, if you did see our announcement of Eruptor's acquisition yesterday, just know I was distracted that day with a ton of work trying to make that happen. So it's all good though. Our acquisition is complete. Eruptor is in Amulet's portfolio of companies, and we expect to be able to increase our ability to help health system marketers in the future with this acquisition. So, and without too much trouble, we're able to have Ahava back. We were rescheduled and coming at it again. So please take full advantage of her willingness to come back. Submit questions along the way as they occur to you for the webinar in the Q&A session at the end using the questions panel. So that's the questions panel, not the chat panel. Also, attendees are muted, of course. So if you need to communicate with us, for example, about technical issues, I'd appreciate it if you could do that in the chat panel and not the questions panel. So real quick, I'm going to just pop over and see if we have any questions, because this is at the point where last time we had some folks raising their hand and saying that they couldn't hear anything. So looks like we're all good here. The webinar is being recorded, and all registrants will receive a link in a follow-up email on Friday that will include links to the deck, Ahava's presenter contact details, and much more. By the way, my name's Tony Huth. I'm the CEO and founder of Medicom Health. Along with HealthAware and Eruptor LLC, we're all part of the Eruptor Holdings family of companies. Now, Medicom is best known for our 18 or so popular health risk assessments. We call them HRAs for short, used by around 12 or 1,300 hospitals for digital consumer engagement and service line growth. They are powerful ways to convert web visits into office visits, connecting potential patients to the right point of care that's optimal for them, and just as importantly, aligns with your internal goals and your available care resources. So if you haven't had a recent demo of the management portal, that's the back end of our HRA solution. That's the part you can't see on the website, not the health quiz. That's where all the real magic happens. So please go ahead and request one. We're always adding more features, more integrations to expand the value and functionality of that portal. So if you're the least bit curious, do yourself a favor, get a hold of us. It really is unique in the industry. All right. On to the main event. Oh, by the way, we're considering this the final Medicom Health webinar. And for the rest of 2023 and beyond, we're really moving our webinar branding over to Eruptor. So we'll continue to showcase thought leaders in the ecosystem, both clients and fellow vendors who encapsulate their broad and deep knowledge on various aspects of patient acquisition and present in this forum. And certainly today is no different. It is my absolute sincere pleasure to welcome back once again Ahava Leibtag. She has more than 20 years of experience in writing, messaging, and marketing. She's a well-recognized expert, frequently writing about thought leadership, content strategy, and content marketing. Ahava is the president and owner of Aha Media Group, a content strategy and content marketing consultancy founded in October of 2005. And she's also the author of The Digital Crown, Winning at Content on the Web. We're very lucky to have been able to convince her to come back and leverage her passion, her knowledge, and her experience here today. So take it away, Ahava.
Thank you so much, Tony. I really appreciate it. So it's nice to be here. We don't see anyone dropping off, so hopefully you can all hear me. I just want to echo what Tony said about seeing their back end. I saw it probably 5 to 7 years ago, and then I had a demo before December's webinar, and I couldn't believe the change. It is a beautiful user interface, really easy to use and intuitive. So not a commercial, just letting you know as somebody who got to see it, it really is fantastic. So Tony gave me a very lovely introduction, and I really appreciate it. We gotta trim that bio down. But Aha Media Group is a healthcare consultancy. We do all healthcare content all the time. I myself am a chronically ill patient. I have a GI condition, and so I'm very passionate about what it is that we do, as well as our entire team is. Our mission is to empower people to make the most important decisions of their lives, and we do that through content strategy, content copywriting, and content training. So let's jump in now that you know who I am and what I talk about, what I love to talk about. So a health risk assessment is, we've all seen them. Hopefully, we've all taken one just to get a sense of what they're like. They're very powerful as lead magnets. We know that, billions of searches are done online around health. I think 1 billion searches a year. And particularly when people have a triggering event, there's probably going to be a need for them to want to take an HRA. And there's all kinds of ways to deliver them and all kinds of ways to create that lead magnet around them. But they certainly hit all of the healthcare marketing bingo words that we're all using all the time now. They really are a great way to get people into your funnel and continue to nurture them as you try to turn them into from readers to patients. So I just wanted to show an example. This is the classic funnel. All of us are familiar with it. Some funnels are, more in depth. Some funnels, are simpler maybe, but this is about as simple as we think that you can make it. We have the awareness phase, the interest phase, the action phase, and then the care phase. So this is Sarah, and Sarah unfortunately has a friend who was just diagnosed with breast cancer. And now Sarah's, anxious. She's in that age group. She's concerned about it. Anytime anything happens with a friend, I think all of us are a little bit like, ooh, could that happen to me? And so she starts thinking about, I hear all the time about women and mammograms and checking herself and breast cancer. Like, do I need to be worried? So that's her triggering event. That's where she becomes aware of the fact that she might have to worry about her health in a complex type of way that breast cancer would suggest. So she encounters the HRA through search and or on an email, a hospital email list, and she goes, oh, you know what? This is really interesting. I'm going to fill this out. And then she gets it back and it tells her, like, you're good to go. And so she doesn't really think anymore about it. And so now the question becomes, well, now what as a marketer? Because you've primed her attention to know that you have this very powerful tool available to her. But moving from the hot pink to the aqua doesn't happen because she doesn't actually need care yet. But you still primed her to be aware of your brand, which is what we're all trying to do all day long. So the question now becomes, well, how do we make the HRA a really powerful, not just a lead magnet for us, but continuing to push people through that funnel and use the HRA and the content that it could potentially provide as a middle of the funnel type of content. So this is a quote that I love. People look to experts to make sense of the world. If they didn't, none of us would be here, because that's what marketers are really designed to do. We're designed to educate people about our products and our services so that they want to work with us from an organizational point of view or a services point of view or a health point of view. So today, together, hopefully, we're going to learn how to use HRAs effectively, more effectively, give you some ideas about how to make them more effective for creating lead magnets and for keeping people inside of your funnel, how to plan for it. I often find that I go to a lot of content marketing seminars and I listen to speakers and they really talk about like the how, but then they don't actually take that middle step and show you like what that actually looks like, planning it out on paper. I'm dating myself, or a screen, or whatever it is. So we're actually going to get into the nitty gritty of that. And then we're going to talk about how to customize that journey for your audience. The best way to eat an elephant is piece by piece. So I'm going to suggest a small project that you can do that might help you feel more comfortable in terms of looking at your HRAs and figuring out a way to use them more effectively. I was actually going to say attack your HRAs, but I've been told that we really need to move towards nonviolent language. So if I say anything that you perceive as violent, I'll give you a nickel. All right, it's all about doorways. So let's talk about how to use HRAs effectively. So I'm going to show you some examples I don't really love. I'm going to show you some examples that I think have teaching moments to them. And then I think I'm going to show you some examples that I really do think could serve as a paradigm of a best practice. So this is an example that I think is a teaching moment because there's a lot going on this page. And unfortunately, the size of the font and the size of the icons don't allow for me to be able to determine which one is which. And so I really have to plow. That's actually a user experience word that we use when we talk about readability on screen. I have to plow through all the words on the screen in order to figure out which one is right for me. And there's a lot going on here. Plus, there's absolutely no difference in the icon's color. So it all sort of looks like a cornfield in Kansas, and I can't really figure out where I need to go next. Now, this one I think has a really nice teaching moment available to it. I like the discrete squares here. I think that the icon matches the words really well. I like the size and the placement. Again, the boxes are all the same color. And what's my real issue with it? Each one of the boxes says take assessment. And so there's no differentiation between the calls to action. So getting better, but still not 100% there yet. Now, this one I really do appreciate and like. So people think in terms of questions. We know about semantic search. We've moved towards how do I, can I, what does it look like, that kind of thing. So here you see that the writers of this particular risk assessment took advantage of knowing that people think that way. And they said, what's your risk of stroke? Sorry, I just need to take a drink. Must be very dry in here. Anyway, so, excuse me, and they have that little picture of the skull and the brain. So immediately your eye and your brain start to make meaning out of this. The colors are different, so they differentiate themselves. Again, not really loving that call to action, get started. I like that it provides action, but I don't know what's going to happen when I get started, whereas the call to action before was like take assessment. And I think that that's very powerful because it gives you some information about what's going to happen after the jump. Then below, when you see in this little gray, big gray area here, choose your health areas, and then it says breast cancer, colon cancer, knee and hip. Now as a user, I'm a little confused because I'm like, well, what's the difference between these two boxes? Like, are they still health assessments? Am I learning my risk? Am I getting informed? What's going on? So there's a little bit here of like a kitchen soup of UX examples that maybe need some work. But there are some learnings here about what you can do, particularly in the use of the questions, the icons, and the differentiation in the boxes. Again, this is on the mammogram and breast screening locations, and this is where I think they do a really good job. One of the things that I'm going to talk about again and again today, and you're not allowed to find me anything for that because I'm going to beat that drum, is that health risk assessments are most valuable as a lead magnet when they are interspersed in the content on your website or in your email newsletters or anywhere else, social media, that have to do with the topic that you're talking about. Very rare for somebody to think like, oh, I need to take a whole bunch of health risk assessments. Let me go to my hospital's webpage and take the 13 that we saw in the Kansas cornfield. It's just not the way that people really work, although maybe hypochondriacs, but unlikely that that's going to happen. So I want for you to, I hope that what we do is start to think about how do I take each health risk assessment and put it in its particular place where it's going to be most valuable to the people who are most concerned about this health condition. And so I think what's nice about this is that they put the breast health assessment within the cost estimate and the potential FAQs that you might have. What don't I like about this? I don't like that there's no color differentiation. What do I like about this? Each of the calls to action is different. Again, this get started does not work. Get an estimate, perfection, right? I know exactly what's going to happen. Get answers, I like it, it's definitive. That's the way you want to write your calls to action. So here is an example of a piece of content that I don't particularly love for a lot of reasons, particularly because it's a wall of words coming at you, but this would be a phenomenal place to put a breast cancer assessment screening because a lot of cancer genetic counseling happens around breast cancer. And so if somebody's going to land on this page and they want to go for genetic counseling, getting an HRA or completing an HRA might be something that they're primed to do. And remember, the reason we want them to take them is not just because we want them to go find care. We also want to get them into our system so we can continue to give them important healthcare information. And so from that perspective, this is a lost opportunity not to have the HRA directly on that page, and that primes the user to take it then. Okay, so let's continue. I want to make sure everybody can hear. I think I have trauma. Okay, so here is a page, evaluate your health. And again, this is an example of where I understand why they all live on one page, but I don't necessarily know that that's the best use of them, because they are probably not going to come to one page. Now, here's a couple of things that I think do work about this page. Take our healthy weight assessment goes with the healthy weight assessment, and the icons do relate back to, but the way it's, you know, designed and laid out on the page, I just don't think that this is the best use of content design. However, what I do like about these blurbs is that they have links not just to assessments, but also to like the actual service line that relates to that assessment. So that's a nice thing to meta message to people, is like, if your health risk assessment turns out not to be that great, we already have the solution to your problem. So this is like, so if you look at this page, right, and you see this square, each one has a square. So this is I pulled out a larger square here. So you can see that, you know, they have the colorectal health assessment, then they have it here too, then they have learn more. Again, telling people exactly what's going to happen when they click on a link is really important. I also think that this content about, you know, colon and rectal cancer is the third most common cancer among men and women in the US. I just want to say, it's scaring people, like that's out in healthcare content. We're trying to move away from that. That is a writer's classic move, right? Let me put some data behind it to convince the person that this is important to do. I think if somebody is coming to your website and they want to take an assessment, they probably already know the thing is scary, so there might be a better way to introduce it. And believe it or not, you already have that content on your website. You just need to go find it, which we're going to talk about. This is when to see a gastroenterologist, and it has right here, even though the colon cancer screening is here, it says find a GI specialist. And this is exactly what I want to see us do. I want to see us use the HRAs in the right place, and also combine them with a call to action that signals to the user, not only can you take this HRA, but there is a practitioner who can help you with whatever it is that you're concerned about. Okay, so this is what happens when the email comes back to you and there's been no back end content design that's happened. As Tony said at the beginning, the back end is extremely powerful, but you can actually customize this. You can turn it into your brand. You can make it look a little bit different. And this is the email that you get back. This is one I took, I guess, about colon cancer or colonoscopy. I'm not 100% sure. But so increased risk, discuss screening with a doctor. First of all, colon should be there, but that's a different issue. The issue really becomes here is that somebody's just taken this thing, they're already scared, and you're sending them a giant red graphic. Maybe there's a better way to do that, right? So, and then when you look at this, again, it's like a lot of information coming at you, and there's no information priority happening here. Like, what's the most important thing that needs to happen? So obviously we want you to open your full results because we want you to know what's going on. Obviously we want you to find a doctor, and obviously we want you to schedule it now. But progressive disclosure says that it's an adult learning theory that says people can only learn discrete things at a time before they can move on to the next thing. So slamming, which is exactly what I would call this, shoot, that's a violent piece of language. Just giving people all this information on the screen at the same time. I don't know all of you, nickel, I just owe one nickel. That is like, it's almost like, you know, you're coming at somebody really, really hard. And I think that there's a better way to present these email result findings. So this, you can customize this, and you should. This is an example of where where this was laid out in a way that I thought was really, really nice. Save time and money. This was a great way of getting people very, very clear answers about why you should get a colonoscopy and what a colonoscopy actually looks like and is. It's laid out really nicely, right? Here's that progressive disclosure thing I'm talking about. So who should get a colonoscopy? Men and women. Maybe now we would also put something else there. Maybe, you know, trans or non-binary, or just maybe just say everyone. everyone with a colon should get a colonoscopy above a certain age, right? Every 10 years, family history, talk to a doctor. And then here, what I really love about this more than anything is this is where the colonoscopy, where the colon health risk assessment is. So did a really nice job of progressive disclosure, explaining the information that people need without putting it in front of them in a I'm having trouble with the nonviolent language. All right, everybody needs character development. Okay, so type 1, type 2 diabetes. So this example I really liked about giving people a choice about what to learn about. So either you want to learn about type 1 or you want to learn about type 2. Very often with content, what we see is we just give everybody all the information and let them scan on the page to choose. Here, we're giving them the choice up front before they see it. And then what I really love about this is here you see this health risk assessment, take the diabetes health assessment. Now, here's one thing I want to say. We know what a health risk assessment is. I want you to go home tonight and ask anyone in your family, a friend, put it on Facebook, tag me on LinkedIn, ask people what is, well, don't do that because probably the people you're connected to know what a health risk assessment is, but most people don't know what that is. And I want you to think about it. Okay, so health is a word that people know. Risk is a scary word, and assessment just sounds like what? School? I don't know, my house, insurance. So there might be a better way to say this. Now, why do we do this? Because we default to knowing what the category is of the content. But there might be a better way to introduce that, like find out your risk for diabetes. That is very different than take the diabetes health assessment. So that's also something that we need to pay attention to, is the precision of language that we know as a group of people that share the same jargon is not the precision of language for the people that we're talking to. And this is not lazy. This was just, it's called a health risk assessment. That's what I'm going to call it. Most people don't really know what that is. And so we want to be careful about introducing that idea to them. This is an email that I got from, I follow all you guys online. I get all your emails. And this was an email that I saw, and it said RSV is on the rise. This was obviously back in December or even late November. It was a great subject line. I was like, yes, I want to know what that's about. And I opened it up. And I thought it was really interesting. I loved this first call to action of we are here for you. Perfect emotional connection. If you notice you or your child are showing signs of RSV, it's important to be evaluated by your primary doctor. No, that's not right. You should see a doctor, period. Schedule an appointment today and book now. Great call to action. But then there's this health risk assessment, and we do this all the time as writers. And by the way, I do it all the time also. I'll go back and read a piece of writing that I wrote a few days ago, and I'm like, Ahava. We get very general, and we don't look at specificity. So instead of saying our free health risk assessments only take a few minutes to complete and allow you to learn about your risk for certain conditions and stay informed about your health, why don't we say, are you concerned about diabetes? Are you concerned about colon cancer? Are you concerned about other conditions? See a full list of conditions that you can find out your risk for. That's a different ask, and that's a great way to get people's interest and to get them in it. When you just say health risk assessments, like what? But if you say find out your risk for and a question mark, and then you give them, a couple of examples and then take them somewhere else, I bet you'll find that they click on it. Okay, I want you to know that I spent about 2 hours preparing this webinar, and that included writing and going through some content and looking at things. So if I could do it in 2 hours, you who know your websites and your email marketing best could probably do it in less time. What I did was, again, what are our goals? Our goals are to get the health risk assessment sprinkled in the right place within our content and to make sure that the call to action is specific and that it's linked somehow to a service that you provide, either find a doctor or actually taking them to a department or services page. So what I did was I just gave you like an Excel spreadsheet here, very simple. Put the URL in, put the page title in. What is the subject on the page? Because sometimes the page title doesn't match, which is a problem in and of itself. And don't get upset. Like, I know what's going to happen. You're going to start crawling through your website and you're just going to feel like, oh, there are too many problems here. And thank God we're out of dry January. But don't do that. Stick with it, because I promise you, you are working on a solution as you do this work. Then you're going to talk about any potential content formats that you have. You're going to ask yourself, is there an HRA on this page? Do we have an HRA available on this page? And then you're going to take some notes for yourself so that you remember exactly what that page is about and what you might be able to do with the content on that page. Okay, so we've come to the end of our first section, which is remembering about the lead magnet strategy for HRAs and what we're actually trying to do by pushing people into the middle of the funnel by getting them to take the assessment and to connect that the assessment is connected with a service at your institution. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go, or hopefully you're going to do, is go through all the content you have related to a specific topic: breast, colon, bariatric surgery, spinal pain, migraines, whatever. I mean, Medicom has, you know, I don't even know how many of these, but there's a lot of things that can go wrong with the human body. And make sure you have a health assessment CTA on those pages. You want to make sure that it connects specifically with the CTA that it is, not just health risk assessment, but find out your risk for diabetes. Learn about your risk for spinal pain or spinal problems or whatever that would be. We'd have to wordsmith that one a little bit. Learn about your risk for colon cancer. Find out about your risk for colon cancer. Keep track of all those pages in a spreadsheet. You know, I would not recommend putting up, you know, Post-its on a wall and connecting them with string. Spreadsheets, smart sheets, whatever it is that you use. And you want to also make sure that you mark additional content formats, because trust me, you have a lot of content out there. And don't be afraid to go out to YouTube and search for what there might be out there as well, coming from your brand. And then you want to get ready to plan. So let's move into that. And again, I'm going to take a drink. Okay, so, and yes, it's a Taylor Swift cup. I stay on brand. Okay, so it's all about what you already have. Let's plan for repurposing your HRA content. So you take your beautiful spreadsheet. It looks fantastic. You're excited about all the good work you have ahead of you to make your website perfect for HRAs. Medicom has some really great persona and user journeys here. This is a high-risk person. She's an example persona. And they really walk you through everything that you could potentially think about from the perspective of Anna. So use their personas if they've got them, or use your own personas, and with theirs and yours, adapt and customize. So, oh, I called her Sarah. Let's call her Lisa. It doesn't really matter. All right, so Lisa is 53 years old. Oh no, it was Sarah with the breast cancer. Now she's someone new. Lisa is 53 years old. She's concerned about the potential risk of a heart attack. She takes the HRA. She's told she's low risk. Now what? So what are we gonna do with Lisa? Lisa is a 53-year-old insured patient. You want to keep talking to Lisa. So the first thing you want to do is you want to think about the channels that you could capture Lisa on. So there's email, and then what formats are you going to use? Text. And now here are all the different pieces of content that you could use in email to attract more attention from Lisa. Here's Instagram. Lisa's 53 years old. She's probably on the Insta, right? So you're going to provide her with pictures and videos and text, because that's what that channel's great at. If you want to do reels, you can do reels on Instagram about heart health. There's a lot to do when it comes to heart health in women. And then you want to use email to push the IG account. Now, the thing I love about email newsletters more than anything else is when you get really low down, there's those little icons right there. No one pays attention to them. You actually have to call it out. Hey, Lisa, did you know we have an Instagram channel? You should follow us for more tips about your heart health. Facebook, again, same thing. I assume Lisa's still on Facebook because her mom's there too. Internal communications you can use also, because there might be a lot of Lisas actually working at your hospital, and that might be a really great way to get them into your system as well. All right, so Lisa is now at heart screening and diagnosis page. This is where she took the HRA, and we have this beautiful aqua box that says heart health assessment. And I'm going to show you this in more. Okay, so have you ever wondered how healthy your heart is? That's a great sentence. It really is. I'm not being facetious. This quick heart health risk assessment, but you could say this quick heart quiz can compare it. Remember, use words people know. They're words people know for a reason. Can compare your, remember, they don't care how smart you are. They just want to know if you can help them be better. Can compare your actual age to your heart's biological age. Okay. As well as calculate your risk of developing cardiovascular disease. No. But it's still a call to action. Okay, so this is what happens on the next page. Why this happens, I don't know, but somebody decided to create a health library condition page, which is fantastic. Don't get me wrong, they're very valuable. But what is this? It's just a lot of information, and I'm not even sure that it's really relevant or important to the person looking at it. However, if you carved it up into smaller pieces of information, it could be really helpful to you. So I just kept scrolling down the page to find out how I could make my heart healthier, and it came to a, oh, I thought I took this out of the room, sorry. And it came to a page about reducing cholesterol, right? Which is something that like anybody over 45 probably needs to start worrying about. So looking at these two pieces of content and reading them through, I got a lot of ideas for content that I could create just for our friend Lisa. So after she takes her HRA, the first thing I'm going to do is your first tip for heart health. Then I'm going to give her your next 2 tips for heart health. 3 more tips to help your heart. Obviously, I didn't spend like a ton of time on this. We would get a little more creative. Your month of heart health is almost over. Eek, what's going to happen? And have you made an appointment for your heart? So just a quick brainstorm of things that I could send to Lisa. Now, you're thinking to yourself, I'm not writing all that content, Ahava. I'm just not doing it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to put it through ChatGPT, and it's going to sound terrible, but I do not have time to do that. No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that because we actually do have some good information here that we can actually use as a basis to rewrite. I promise you, it did not take me this long to do this, and I barely write anymore. So, let's look at just the first sentence. A major risk factor for coronary heart disease, guys, this content exists in the world, is a high blood cholesterol level. By lowering your blood cholesterol level, you can reduce your chances of developing this life-threatening disease. Who wants to crawl underneath their desk? Okay, context. Last week, you took the first step toward heart health. You took our heart risk assessment. I probably shouldn't have said that now that I've said that you shouldn't use those words, but okay, we'll go with it. The good news is you're low risk for any heart disease, but you're still invested in your health. Your first tip for improving your heart health, reduce cholesterol. A major risk factor for coronary heart disease, you don't need to say that, you just say heart disease, is a high blood cholesterol level. I would probably just say number. By lowering your blood cholesterol number, you can reduce your chances of developing this life-threatening disease. I should have taken life-threatening out. That's violent language. Find these people a nickel. And then I just went ahead and I did some web writing, voodoo magic, to make it a little bit easier to read. That's an email that you can send to Lisa to keep nurturing her, because chances are Lisa didn't go to the web page you gave her after she filled out the HRA and read through all that content. But you can continue to nurture her with the email. Now, here's the craziest part. You wrote that email. Now carve that up and put it on your social media channels. You can use it on Facebook. Lisa's on Facebook. Remember, she's talking to her mom, and maybe her mom needs to improve her heart health too. Maybe her mom's heart health is not low risk. You could put it on Instagram as a slideshow. You could make a reel out of it. I mean, it's crazy what you could do. And so you've already just taken content that exists currently on your website, rewritten it. Now you can send it along to an editor, and then you can figure out a couple of different things to do with it. So again, there's a ton of valuable content here. We want you to use it in as many ways as possible. There are 4 types of search intent. So this is something that I want to talk about just because I think it's important to remember that sometimes people might be searching for HRAs and they're not just finding you through emails or something like that. So I just want you to remember that there are certain things that happen for people. They're looking for a piece of information. They actually need to go someplace specific. They actually want to make a transaction, like pay a bill, which would be fantastic. Or they're considering a product or service and they're investigating it. In this case, it would be, looking at a doctor or whatever. So you're going to get a PDF of these slides. This is a great thing to think about when you think about Lisa's journey, because what we want to think about is, what is she thinking about in her journey through having taken this heart risk assessment and now getting emails from you? Is she actually going to start thinking, well, I'm 53 years old, maybe I should see a cardiologist. My primary care doctor said my cholesterol was a little bit high. Like, what should I be doing about that? Should I be thinking about something? So just thinking through where people are and the types of content that might be most available to them is important. The second part of this is that you want to do SEO research on any piece of content you create, even if it's not going to live on the web. And the reason for that is SEO research isn't just about what's going to rank for search. It's the words your audiences use to talk about the thing you want to talk to them about. And as we just pointed out with health risk assessment, the words that we use aren't always the words that they use. So going, even if you know that this piece of content might only live on email or might only live on social media, I want you to double check the SEO because I want you to use the same words that they're using. So I just did like a quick Google Trends here of reduced cholesterol, heart health, heart attack in women. You can obviously see that heart health is a big one. People really care about that. If I live in a certain part of the country or attack, oh, there's 10 cents. Or if I are working within a specific regional area, I can drill down further and find out if there are regional differences in the words that people use. So let's talk about, we're right on time, planning for repurpose. Number one, choose a persona. I know Anna was high risk. I think you should go low risk first. It's up to you. If it's a strategic priority to get people into a specific service line that has a health risk, say it fast 5 times, a health risk assessment attached to it, definitely you might want to think about doing a high risk person. And then plan based on what you already have, how you can nurture through email. Build those emails. You might have to move some content around and definitely double check your SEO, not just from an organic search perspective, but from a vocabulary perspective. Okay, now we're going to customize the journey for your audience. You can use that red pen that we all love to use so much. All right, so this is actually from a hospital that went and actually customized the email that they sent back. They didn't send back one of those emails that's like, oh my God, you're in trouble. Instead, they actually wrote the content. And I really think they did a beautiful job of it. Thank you for taking the time to complete the breast cancer risk assessment. Fine. You're one of a kind, and you are. A woman's risk depends on many factors. Knowing what increases your personal breast cancer risk lets you focus on those risk factors. Sometimes a woman's family history of cancer increases her risk. So I would actually you probably have gotten rid of that second sentence. Other times it's her age or health history. Most often a combination of factors increases her risk. Your results, you've completed this online assessment, you've taken an important part toward protecting your health. I love it when people say this online assessment. I always wonder why. Like, obviously it's online. You took it online. You didn't fill out like a piece of paper with bubbles. Your next step is to share your results report with a primary care provider and determine a breast cancer screening schedule that is right for you. I love that. Why? Because you actually told them what to do with this very important information. And I know a lot of us think it's obvious, but it's really not. Remember, Lisa's 53 years old. She might have kids. She might have a job. She might be really busy, and she doesn't have time to think about, what do I do now that I know that I'm low risk? Actually, Lisa, this is a great thing to give to your doctor for you to talk to her about, or him about it. Knowing how to best protect your long-term health isn't easy. I don't know if I would say that. I might say it can be confusing at times. A primary care provider can answer questions about maintaining healthy habits and screening schedules. Find a provider. Beautiful. There's a call to action. This is one I don't like. Attached is your heart age test report provided by the name of the organization. Be sure to print this report out and take it with you the next time you see your doctor. It's all, cool. It's always smart to discuss your heart health with your doctor. If you don't have a doctor, Blank has a variety of doctors to meet your needs. Find a doctor online today. That I do like. However, it's blurry, right? Like, you've got one thing, we're giving you this information, and then the next thing you have the find a doctor online today thing. So I would have just put a heading there that's like how to find a doctor or how to discuss these risks with your doctor. Okay, I rewrote that one because I love it. So first of all, I had a lot of fun finding a stock image that worked. And remember, we do not use visuals enough in these kinds of emails, and you can customize them. So spend the time. Your hospital's paying money for these health risk assessments. Go in the back end and have some fun. We're so pleased to be able to give you this heart health report. There's a lot of information, so be sure to spend some time looking this over. Consider curling up with some tea and a small piece of dark chocolate, both great for heart health, and reading your report. Now here I gave them steps. It also makes sense to talk to your primary care doctor about the findings. Need one? Here's a convenient list. Read more about your heart and how to keep it healthy. We've compiled some of our favorite heart health articles here. Follow us on, here you go, Facebook and Instagram for more health and wellness tips. So you can actually deliver a much better email that gets you closer to what you're trying to do with these people than something that looks like it came out of a form from 1993. Was the internet even around then? Okay, get peace of mind about your heart. Here's one. The result of your heart age test indicates you are likely at low risk for heart disease. likely. This is great news. The next step is to share these results with your doctor. Now, you can see that Medicom has these already written out for you, and everyone's kind of personalized them for themselves, or some people haven't at all. And this explains the different kinds of doctors you might want to see. Schedule an appointment with your doctor, and it's booked now. Okay, I didn't, whatever. I rewrote it. Okay, second email about risk. Because your heart assessment shows that you are at high risk for some heart health issues, we wanted to give you a plan of action you can follow right now. Boom, we are helpful. 1, don't panic. It's important to make an appointment with a cardiologist. We've created a convenient list here. 2, we've also compiled a list of important questions to ask your doctor. These are pieces of content that already existed on that hospital's website. Go ahead and add your own questions. You can also learn what to expect at your doctor's visit, right? You're making them comfortable. You're showing them that you're holding their hand. And 3, follow us on Facebook and Instagram for daily wellness tips that will help you on your heart health journey. So again, not spending a ton of time, but making it more empathetic and more friendly and more conversational is what people are looking for. There's also an opportunity to send people a checklist. So you could actually build checklists after people take different health risk assessments. And again, only do this when there's real strategic value to that particular service line, and send that to them when they complete the heart risk assessment, or use it as part of a nurturing campaign. Or say to them, would you like a checklist? And then they'll engage with the email. And if you watched our email marketing webinar, you would know that that increases your score, which means that you're going to continue to get delivered into their inbox, and it means that your email is valuable. So how do we customize the journey? Plot the emails you use to engage. Should there be a comma there? Plot the emails you use to engage people, to build them to make an appointment. Use the new content you've created or direct them to existing URLs. It's out there. And number 3, report, report, report. The more you can show the wins and the more you can show that people are engaging with the content, people engage with better content. It's really true. So people look to experts to make sense of the world. Trust is built from helping people make sense of the world. People really care about these health risk assessments. They want to understand their health. Let's do a better job of helping them, while at the same time we help our organizations help more people. That's it. So if anyone has any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them. It's about 45 minutes, which I think is a nice amount of time to spend listening to a conversation about HRAs, but would love to answer any questions that people have.
Thank you so much, Ahava. That was fantastic. Folks, start getting your questions in now. I want to remind you to watch your inbox for our follow-up email that will have links to this deck, links to our past webinar recordings, Ahava's contact details. We can probably put a copy of that spreadsheet template in there if it's helpful. All right, and also, by the way, there will be a link in that email to sign up for next week's webinar. That's right, next week's webinar, because we're rescheduling Ahava from December. We actually have our regularly scheduled February webinar next week with Jessica Walker from Care Sherpa, discussing 10 reasons you may lose new patients and how to easily prevent it. She'll share on how health system marketers can make sure that their efforts end in care and collected revenue. All right, I see there is a question here. I'll serve it up to you here. All right, Ahava, for how long should you follow up with people after they fill out the HRA? Should you ever stop emailing them?
Oh my gosh, I love that. I think that's fantastic. Such a good question. I think you should follow up with people about 5 times over an 8-week period. And then I think that you should just send them into your regular health and wellness email. And if you don't have one, then I don't know what to tell you to do. But I wouldn't beat oh my gosh, another, Tony, I'm not doing well here with the violent language. I would say beat a dead horse. I wouldn't circle that too much, because I think that you could probably annoy people. So I think about 5 times over 8 weeks is probably your best bet. And then I would send them into your general email. If legal's going to give you a problem with that, or you're not allowed to do that, or whatever that is, then I think you can say to them, unless you tell us not to, we're going to send you regular wellness tips and things like that. But I don't know. My experience with compliance is if you take them to enough meals and you give them enough drinks, they'll figure out how to do anything. So just work it out with them, but I don't think it should be a problem.
FYI, we do have emails built into our platform, but you can of course easily export those users right into your CRM, right into your email automation. So there's really no, and I think you can send up to 10 emails from our system, so you can cut it off wherever you want. Oh, I see another question has come in here. For nurturing those who complete an HRA, is it okay to suggest related assessments?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Absolutely. I think that anything that you can do to engage your audience in ways that are appropriate really makes sense to me. So here's what I would say. I talk about the level 3 communication schema. So there are 3 circles of people in your life. There's level 1, who are the people that are kind of like your doorman, like you know their name and you know how they are and you say hi to them, but you don't necessarily build a relationship with them. The second are your friends, people who might know your kids' names and know what you're up to. And the third are your real intimates. These are the people you cry to. If you feel like you would get a piece of content from a number 2 and it would offend you, don't send it. So there's always like a stress test on how often you reach out to people and what you actually say to them. And I think that if you want to say, people who took our breast cancer risk assessment also took our colon cancer risk assessment, people are very used to that from like Amazon and online shopping. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing it. If you say to people, if you took our heart health risk assessment and you came back high risk, do you want to take our bariatric surgery assessment? Doesn't feel right to me. So again, think about that level 2 level of friendship. If somebody would say that to you, would you be like, I'm never talking to that person again? Don't put it in your email and don't put it in your content.
That's a great tip. I haven't heard that before.
Oh, I have all kinds of them, Tony.
Well, that's good, because this is actually the last question, and it's looking for more of those. Any additional suggestions for ways to fall into less of the common content traps you mentioned before they're on the website?
So I'm going to answer that in 2 different ways. So the common content traps are just writing stuff and not thinking about how people are reading it and how they're using it. So that's just basic web writing issues, making sure you have headlines, making sure people can scan, making sure that you're using vocabulary that they actually use to search, making sure you've got enough white space there. The second common content trap is the one where we all write about the same thing all month long in February and October. And it's just not that interesting to people anymore because they're so inundated by it. I was recently in Manhattan and I saw a bus go by, and on it had a campaign from Memorial Sloan Kettering, and it said, we need to spend more time talking about the way we treat our coworkers when they've been diagnosed with cancer. And I thought to myself, my God, that is brilliant, because cancer, 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 we've all heard about it so much, and we talk about it all the time in our society, especially in healthcare. And here's a healthcare organization who found a different way to talk about it. And so I think that one way to get away from constantly talking about the same things and going over the same topics over and over again is to find a different angle in and a different lens. That's why I wrote that heart health assessment thing about the green tea and the chocolate, because what I was trying to do is I was trying to say to people, there's answers for you, there's help for you, and it doesn't have to feel that scary all the time. And so that's some of the things that I think we should really be thinking about more, is how can we turn the frame on this? How can we get at it through a different angle? And then how do we just make it a lot less scary than it is? Because it doesn't have to be that scary. I mean, healthcare is really terrifying in a lot of ways. And I think that unfortunately, sometimes we're part of that. I think we can make it a little more approachable and a lot more understandable.
And actually, one more question has come in here.
Sure.
What are the HRA topics that you have found to be most successful, or the must-do HRAs?
I don't know. You would know the answer to that question better than
Yeah, I would say heart, right? Obviously, heart health is our flagship. It's the most popular for a lot of reasons. Obviously, cardiac issues are hard to understand, hard to know what you have, and extremely deadly. So those are great things to connect folks to the right point of care. Obviously, the cancers are breast cancer is popular, colorectal cancer is popular, lung cancer is popular. Our joint ones, so back and neck and knee and hip, obviously, those are things that are very bothersome to a person on a day-to-day basis. And so when they're looking for an answer, they don't want to immediately necessarily make an appointment. They don't understand maybe enough about the condition. So our joint assessments are popular. And then one that's been kind of becoming more and more popular over the last handful of years is our healthy weight assessment. So we do have one more specifically for sort of almost like a bariatric surgery pre-screener, but the healthy weight assessment is really more of a wellness HRA and gets a lot of traction these days.
Yeah, and I think that actually is a really good point that goes back to the person who asked the question about, is it okay to suggest a different HRA? I definitely think you could group some of these together, right? Like some of the cancers could be grouped together. The healthy weight and diabetes might be able to be grouped together, but I wouldn't group the healthy weight with the bariatric surgery one. And so that's kind of the line that I mean by like the level 2 friend, you know, like, oh, you're not at a healthy weight. Have you thought about bariatric surgery? Like, no, I'm not talking to you ever again. So that kind of thing.
All right, folks, last chance to get a question in. Otherwise,
I'm really glad everyone heard us.
I have a little PTSD from that last experience as well.
So do I, but it's okay. We made it through. Hopefully we delivered really valuable content. I'm glad to hold the crown of last ever webinar for Medicom. I want a badge for my website, Tony.
Good to know. All right.
Thank you for all that you've done for the healthcare communications and marketing and digital community. You've always hosted the best thought leadership, and I know that many of us counted on it. So great to see it being carried on by Eruptor.
Yeah, well, so it's really just kind of, you know, a little bit of rebranding. It's still going to be me, still going to be hopefully just as compelling content for the rest of the year, maybe more so.
Great, awesome. Well, I look forward to being invited back. Thank you, everybody, so much. Have a great rest of your day. If you want to reach out to us with any of your content questions, feel free to do so. ahava@ahamediagroup.com.
Yes, and watch your inbox for that follow-up email. Again, it'll have links to the deck, Ahava's contact info if you want to follow up with questions about anything you've heard here today. By the way, please feel free if there are topics that you would like to suggest that we cover in future webinars, or if you have a case study, a successful healthcare marketing case study you'd like to showcase in this format, let me know. We're always looking for folks to give a platform to. By the way, it doesn't have to include HRAs or Eruptor's SEM campaigns, but obviously bonus points if it does. Just so you know, I did not pressure Ahava into talking about HRAs here today, but it was a great fit to hear her perspective and her expertise on some of the common challenges that our clients face around getting these you know, out in the wild and then following up with folks post-completion. So my thanks again to Ahava, president and owner of Aha Media, for her contributions here today. Any last words?
No, thank you so much. And no content professionals were harmed in the making of this content. So we're all good.
All right, that's it, folks. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.